Hello everyone, my name is Janet Pena, and today I will be presenting for Team Module 6. Our topic is social media use in general by age group by healthcare professionals. So let's begin. General use of social media. So here we have a chart showing social media use by age. So you can see from 2006 to 2018 how social media has increased per group. It hasn't slowed down. It really has increased. And you can see that the 18 to 29 age group is the fastest growing group when using social media. But you can also see that every group is steadily increasing, it's not decreasing. So the research shows that 7 in 10 Americans use social media to connect with one another, engage with news content, share information, and entertain themselves. It goes on to also explain that more Americans have adopted social media. The social media user base has also grown more representative of the broader population. Young adults were always the earliest social media adopters, and they continue to use these sites at high levels. But there's a trend now that older adults are increasing their social media use in recent years. So the next chart shows majorities of teens, why they use social media, what are they looking for. So they want to interact with people from other backgrounds and experiences, find different points of views, and show their support for causes and issues. The least reason why they would use social media is that they think that they find trustworthy information. So you can see that in all the first three categories, the reasons why they use it is pretty high as it relates to, wanting to interact with other individuals that are different from them, trying to find different points of views, show support for causes and issues, but not to find trustworthy information. Here we see that the different platforms being used and which are the ones that are being used the most. So it says here that Facebook and YouTube continue to be the most widely used online platforms among U.S. adults, where YouTube is at 73% and Facebook at 69%. And going back to, teens and not really wanting to use social media as a trustworthy way to get news. It says that about 2/3 of Americans get news on social media, but most of them expect news there to be inaccurate. So I want to say this is more of a poll for adults because teens really are not interested in getting their news from social media because they don't believe that is true. But here it explains that 57% believe that the news they get on social media is largely inaccurate, and 42% believe that it's largely inaccurate. So next we have some stats for different social media platforms. So Facebook marketing stats, I'll just mention that with over 2.41 billion monthly active users, Facebook is the third most visited website. And 74% of Facebook users log in daily and spend an average of 38 minutes per day. Twitter marketing stats, interesting to know that in 2019, 330 million people were using Twitter monthly. And Instagram marketing stats show that Instagram will reach 112.5 million US users in 2020. So let's move on to use of social media by patients. So some interesting points here. 74% of internet users that engage on social media, out of the 74%, 80% of them are specifically looking for health information. Very true. 60% of social media users trust social media posts by doctors over any other group. I would be one of the individuals in that group. And lastly, 29% of patients viewing health information through social media are viewing other patients' experiences. And that, I believe, that it makes sense that if you have a diagnosis, you want to talk to someone with the same diagnosis and know what their experience was so that I can prepare myself for my path through my disease. So let's talk about social networking by healthcare professionals. So social media versus social networking. Social media is the use of web-based and mobile technology so that you can communicate into an interactive dialogue, versus social networking, which is local structure with people who are joined by a common interest. So for example, healthcare professionals want to connect with their peers, with their patients, and with industry, such as insurance and pharmaceutical companies. So we found 3 different platforms that physicians would use as a way of networking. Here we have Sermo, Doximity, and Medical Directors Forum. So they all basically have physicians that are networking with each other. For example, Sermo has a number of physicians that represent many specialties in all 50 states, and they gather to network or discuss treatment options. Doximity is a newer physician-only social networking community that offers text and images for point-of-care information crowdsourcing. And lastly, Medical Directors Forum is a social networking site for medical directors, and they can provide a verified, secure, closed-loop environment for peer-to-peer interaction. So great ways of using social media and networking within the medical community. So it's safe to say that really social media is no longer optional. In order to engage with patients on the platforms that they use, the most, social networking and advertising has become critical for marketing, to the community. It mentions that 99% of hospitals have an active Facebook page. So that makes sense. We wanted to mention the impact that social media has on connecting with, with the community, with prospective patients. So, one of the main reasons why healthcare organizations would participate in social media is to help educate patients. They want to educate the public, about new research and give them tips for staying healthy. They want to use social media postings, for example, like this live tweet by St. Vincent Charity Medical Center, where in 2013 they live tweeted a total knee replacement surgery. And so 3,800 people followed on Twitter. Who would not want to see such a surgery? And then 3,000 over live stream video. And throughout the whole live tweet event, their hashtag was trending. So very interesting. So benefits for social media use related to healthcare and patient awareness is, improving health. And health outcomes, developing peer-to-peer professional networks to better help patients, to motivate patients, to give them information so that they can live more healthy lives, and to provide healthcare information to the community. So it's important to note that, virtual reality is currently being used in the healthcare field to train not just doctors, but every type of healthcare worker. Artificial intelligence would be a great way to personalize treatment. So challenges on social media use. So we have patient privacy and HIPAA compliance, fear of negative response, and medical misinformation. So the greatest issue when it comes to HIPAA compliance is keeping patient information protected. So this is a great issue within the healthcare community, and so they want to find new ways where they can make sure that they can protect patient information. HIPAA has released a list of social media guidelines, and in these guidelines, they outline how to post information online without violating patient privacy. So, for example, de-identifying patients by removing information like their name, date of birth, or insurance information. So we should keep in mind that hospitals can avoid HIPAA compliance concerns simply by making sure that if they're going to post something on social media, that they get patients' consent. Related to fear of negative response, medical misinformation on social media, it's important to note that this is a health-related claim, a fact that is currently false due to lack of scientific evidence. Good example is, for example, cough CPR. This is a myth. You cannot give yourself a cough CPR in order to prevent a heart attack. Also a good example is vaccine causes autism. What's happening is, there's misinformation related to vaccinations and how they can cause autism, when really what we're doing is we are putting really the community in danger. Also such things as the so-called natural treatments for cancer. So social media tips for healthcare organizations would be to educate and share valuable content as shown through peer-to-peer. Listen for relevant conversations that will make a difference in better care for patients, and remain in compliance, such as, HIPAA compliance. In conclusion, social media is an empowering and engaging tool that should be utilized efficiently. Thank you for watching our presentation. We hope that you enjoyed it.